right. All right.
I
Welcome
was
to the Three
boring.
Bros Podcast, your favorite podcast that still has no intro, and is your favorite to come to watch or listen to people talk, review, and debate new and old movies. I am Nary Science. With me, as usual, is Hilda,
Hey friends,
or at Tabletop Gamer Girl
it's
on
game
Instagram.
night.
It's game night.
It's game night.
We also have Chad Valdez.
Hey
I love
guys,
Chad. I love my
And
man's
then
right there.
I'm back for the third time. BT comedy, BT comedian, BT.
Thank you, sir.
My dude. We are here today. We're gonna talk about Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Amongst Thieves, and also Clue from 1980 something. Right? Year, Hilda?
1985, 85,
85.
85.
85,
85. I knew it was old.
1985.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get right into it, man. Because I saw Dungeons and Dragons yesterday in theaters, because it hasn't come out on digital yet, and I want to know what you guys think. But before that, we want to get to the synopsis of the movie. It says a charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a long lost relic, but the charming adventure goes dangerously awry when they run afoul of the wrong people. That's what it says. It says when they run afoul. I'm like, okay, all right.
I guess that's one way to look at it.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. Hilda, first of all,
I
to the disclaimer of the listener, not the disclaimer, to clarification of the list to the listener, uh, Hilda is literally her tag is tabletop gamer girl, so you know she's into tabletop games.
Oh.
And if you are listening to the audio version of this, go to the video version on YouTube and our Facebook pages, and you'll see Chad's literally has a giant 21 sided die, a giant 20. I'm sorry, 20. You're right. Perfect
20.
20. Perfect 20. Right. And it's giant. So obviously they are huge fans of the board games of Dungeons and Dragons. So just want to put that out there. Hilda, what'd you think of the movie, man?
So you usually start with me, and on this one, so Chad is more the RPG gamer in this group. My experience with D&D, we have like the D&D board games like Betrayal at Baldur's Gate, Adventure Begins, and Dragonfire and whatnot. But Chad is like OG RPG player, so I think we should start with Chad this time.
Okay. Chad?
Thank you.
We're gonna mix it
Uh,
up.
So yeah, obviously, as Hilda said, I've been playing D&D since I was like 14. I blame Matthew Baldwin, attorney at law, for that. He got me into it. But anyway, so that was a very long time ago. Unfortunately, I should giving away my age. Not that my gray hair does anything for it. As anybody who's watching the video portion can see, yeah, my room is rather geeky themed. Okay, but as far as the movie, it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. I had a ball watching it. I went back 2 more times, and one I even brought my 8-year-old son, regardless of rating, because he had to see it in the theater. I was not going to let that situation pass. And yeah, he enjoyed it, and he's a tough customer to please for whatever it was, 2 hours or so.
That's weird. I never even realized this movie was not. This movie was rated R.
I think it was PG-13.
Oh, okay. All right, that makes sense. I was like, rated. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I don't think it had enough of stuff to get on an
Yeah.
R.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, there was very little cursing. There's some gore, but like they kept all the blood stuff pretty much off the screen.
Yeah.
For in a world full of literal explosives and animals tearing into things and swords and magic and all that. Remarkably bloodless, just like Wolverine and X-Men. Anyway, the story, the synopsis is oddly put because the story is essentially thieves got caught because thieving went bad, and then they do more thieving to try to get the thing that their other thief stole, and then they run into a lot of hilarious adventures, and all that stuff in the way. I don't want to give too much away, but the special effects were spot on. They had so many like Easter eggs for those who knew what to look for. But regardless of all the insider crap, one of the things that I love the most about it, and even my son picked it up, is that they built an amazing world without shoving it in your face. That like this was a fantasy world, right? They had even the moon from the Forgotten Realms with the Tears of Saloon following it. It's just like it's all these subtle hints of the world building that they're doing while all the hijinks is going on. That it really sold me on this one, and I think you can tell this one, as opposed to movies in the past, was of D&D was built by somebody who knew what the hell they were doing. And while I don't love Thimberchild, which is the big fat dragon, I'm a huge fan of red dragons.
Sir. It's Husky.
I'm sorry, Husky. Husky. I don't mean to body shame, but he's a chunky boy.
I will accept chunky. I will accept thick.
Yeah, he's definitely thick.
But easy with the fat wood, bro. Easy.
Okay. So there is actually a whole story as to why he is thick. I won't bore everybody on the podcast with that.
You know what it is? It's too many carbs. You got too many carbs. That's what happens, man.
Yeah. A ton of carbs.
Who's in that same journey of losing weight, it's too many carbs. The dragon's having too many carbs. You gotta cut back on the carbs.
Too many carbs.
Nothing but when you eat nothing but like dark elves and illithids.
You gotta cut back with that. That's what you gotta do.
There's too much carbs, not enough protein.
You gotta go lean protein, bro. Lean protein.
The dragon diet.
Yeah.
So anyway,
apparently too many carbs and sweets in the Underdark.
Yeah, exactly.
A dragon, thick, thick like a dragon.
So
with 3 C's.
Basically
Chunky,
comes to
with an O.
my main criticism, and it's a criticism of more of Hollywood in general, is that they had a chance to show a dragon as an actual true villain, not just a beast with fire, and they blew it on a joke. And the beast, freaking dragons in D&D are even the dumbest of them. As a white dragon, once they're aged like a couple decades, they're smarter than the humans, and those are the dumb ones. So red dragons are like 2 to 3 times smarter than humans, and yet we get this guy who never even opens his mouth beyond to spew fire.
He opened his mouth to eat.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't count as speaking and intelligence.
Thick boys do. Thick boys. To eat, man.
I'm just saying they could have made Thimberchild like a secondary villain, set him up for the next movie. Instead, he's just
but he's not dead. Still set him up for the next movie.
But he's not threatening. They blew right past him. Especially, I hate when they put. I would rather have them not put the stats out for the characters, because these guys were a bunch of 5th level nobodies against apparently a great worm, Thimberchild, an 18th level necromancer. This is the geeky stuff that I could go into all day.
Yeah, I was watching the movie. I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
right? I'm sure.
18 level, right? That's got.
Let alone the druid turning into an owlbear, which is not even possible.
It's not even possible. It's so dumb. It's not even real.
It's worse. Like, so obviously it's all made up, right? But within the rule system of D&D, it's a really dumb choice for them to make the turn into owlbear, because the owlbears are literally magical experimentations gone awry. Like, they're abominations of nature. So it's like it goes against everything druids stand for. But whatever, it doesn't matter. It looked cool as fuck.
BT, do you know the comedian Eddie Gosling?
Yes. I know of him. I never met him, but I know of him.
Eddie Gosling is a fantastic comedian. He has a great joke where he starts talking about, like, he's nerding out on shit, and he's nerding out on, like, Lord of the Rings, or LTR as it's called in his circle. And then his wife knows nothing about it. She was like, "Is that is that Gandalf the wizard?" And is that what's it, the wizard from Harry Potter? What was it?
Oh yeah, not Ganondorf, Dumbledore.
Dumbledore. Is that
Dumbledore?
So she said, "Is that Dumbledore?" Like, looking, they were watching the Lord of the Rings movies, and he was like, "That's from Harry Potter. That's not even real. What are you talking about?" And that's how I feel you are right now about this shit. Right now, you're watching this movie, you're like, "That's not even possible to be. You can't even be at level 15 and turn into like." I'm like, I just picture you in the theater doing that, and everybody else is like, "It's a fucking dragon." It's like, I don't, and you're like, "No, but it's not."
I'll give him this though. Beyond the fact that he's both dragons they showed were in the lore, I would have put more dragons in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. But
it's just a Dungeons and Dragons, not Dungeons and Many Dragons.
I guess so.
They had 2. The fact that they had 2 shoys you there's dragons.
Apparently.
Technically, that's plural. You know.
Yeah, they met the minimum requirement. But they did show, unlike Smaug and the Hobbit, they did give the dragons all 6 limbs. so that they had all the legs and the wings.
But I was gonna bring up Smike from The Hobbit. He was smart and he talked and he was a smart.
Right, and he's a perfect villain. It's just that he's not actually a dragon; he's a worm. Because they had him walking on his wingtips and didn't give him his proper legs like a true dragon.
Oh. Maybe he's a handy capable dragon.
Yeah,
That's all dragons matter, bro. Come on,
no,
man.
He's a thick dragon.
no. I guess I'm a dragon ableist.
Yeah.
Because a true dragon has all 6 limbs, or at least had them at some point.
Yeah.
I'll go with that. Maybe, hey man, dragon is a dangerous life. Adventure's always trying to steal your shit. You could lose a limb or two. I'm no doubt.
Hilda, what'd you think of the movie?
I had so much fun watching this movie. I really did. It was just such a fun watch. The movie itself had a huge budget, so that was promising going into a fantasy movie. I know that a lot of times they can be hit or miss unless they're these big blockbusters, and I was really happy to see that it was just fun, enjoyable. There's so many little things I could talk about, but I loved that it, like, the campiness of the characters in this party that's on this quest, right? A lot of times, a lot of times you see a movie and if it takes itself too seriously, it's like the campy doesn't work. But in this case, I think it does. So I really enjoyed that. While we play a ton of tabletop games at home, things like RPGs like D&D can be really hard to get to the table. You have to have a committed group of friends that are going to meet up once a week to play. And so we've had instances in the years where we've like built a character and we've started, but then it just fizzled out. So it had been years. It does. It happens a lot. And recently we found a group near us at a brewery. There's a brewery with the release of the movie. A brewery is hosting a D&D night. So we started going. And so we're currently, my husband and I are currently in two different campaigns. We're 2 different quests. We meet up there on Tuesday nights, but now doing that and then thinking back on watching the movie, realizing that a lot of that campiness, sometimes you have the DM that's maybe they're a little bit serious, right? But then the players, there's that campiness and the jokes, and because it's improv, so you're working off each other. So the comedy is there, the comedy happens at the table when you're gathered. So a lot of that felt like the game watching the movie.
You could totally play D&D 100% dead serious, absolutely, but that wouldn't be D&D.
Right.
D&D is, it's a bunch of screwballs, like mismatched people getting together, even in real life or not.
So I enjoyed that level of comedy that they put in there. I've been reading up about it, but they did have like a D&D expert on set. So when they came across certain questions, because they did want to be true to, as much as they could, to the origins, right, of why they're doing this movie.
Yeah, and honestly, like I said, beyond those 2 things, they really did a great job. One of the directors is the guy from Freaks and Geeks.
Yes, a lot of them played, and the entire
cast,
the cast themselves, played D&D on set. For some of the cast, it was completely new to them. So they were actually so can you imagine like a group of actors, right? Playing D&D, because it's all improv. So awesome. Neri, you might be great at it. You do a lot of improv for your career.
Oh, I think Neri would be awesome at it.
Yeah, I think you guys would be great. We should get our own D&D game going.
Mike has been trying to get me to do a D&D campaign, and it just has been because of time is all. It's just that everything you talked about as far as a commitment to it. I'm like, that's another thing. I have 2 podcasts that I haven't done in like 6 months or a year because I don't have the time to, you know what I mean?
You have to. It's a commitment. When we were kids, we could do it, every weekend. Sometimes I think at one point I was in like 4 different campaigns during the week, and then I met, started dating my wife, and
then you met a girl, and
then I met a girl.
This is so much better. I'd much rather play with this.
Yeah, absolutely. But to be fair, she did play a bunch. She loved it. Once I showed it to her, and she came in, She only doesn't play now because veterinary. She's a veterinarian and she works her tail off, so she doesn't have time. Like whatever you were
I
saying,
see what you did
Gary.
there. She's a veterinarian. She works
Yeah.
her tail off.
So,
Nice,
but
nice
like, yeah,
veterinary.
even if you do it once every month or every couple of months, you're still playing, and that's,
Right.
in my opinion, that's all you need. Because, but you do have to set aside like a 3 to 4 hour chunk just to get going,
All right. All
and
right.
like I said,
Let's get to BT because
yeah,
we're running
go.
out of time. And,
I
now
know.
we're getting into
Sorry.
the game and to the board game and not the movie.
Right.
BT,
Fair,
what did
fair.
you think about the movie? When did you watch it?
When did I watch it?
Yeah.
I watched it in Utah last week, and I'm
Oh,
not gonna lie. When you say you want to be on the podcast, I go yes, and you told me the movies, and I went, what?
yeah.
I mean, when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, I was like, okay.
I'm the same way. I was the same way. Bro.
I was like, okay. So I was like, okay, and I went to go see it, and I saw the runtime. I go, God damn it! And so I went in. And
By
I
the
was
way,
like,
for those of you who don't know, BT does like on Instagram. He'll do like a 1 minute movie review, and I only mention this because he brings up in the 1 minute movie review that he does on his Instagram. He'll bring up the running time. That's a big deal for BT. Like I've heard him say movies that he loves. He's like, it comes in at an hour, like it comes in at 3 hours, and he's like, that's a long. And like you always like pay attention to the running time. I never pay attention to the running time until I'm there, and then I'm like, how long is this fucking movie?
yeah, honestly, I mean, it sounds like nothing, but it kind of is. I mean, and I do like a movie that stretches legs, let you, get into it, and the characters like, okay, I like that, but sometimes, man, it's like, God damn it, come the fuck on. And this one was, I mean, like, I love how Chad and Hild are really into that. I love that, and I don't want to yuck your yum, but I was like, when you told me down, I go, and
all right, but what do you think about once you saw the movie? Same.
I will say this. Man, the casting, it was something out of a diversity for colleges brochure. I was like, they hit every nail. I mean, whatever group there is out there, there was some, I mean, I wish they had a dark-skinned black dude in there that had a couple lines, but still, for the most part, yeah.
Well, they had the wizard. He was
so, I mean, but like a big part. Like, I mean, they had a lot of light-skinned black, but you know what?
He's a wizard.
Cool.
He literally saved him with the helm. That's a big part.
But still, you know what?
Not enough. It's never enough.
It's never enough. Yeah, it's true. That's a song by somebody. But anyway, Chris Pine was funny, and I did like some of the comedy. I thought everybody was good. I mean, I thought Justice Smith was good. I like how he was like the sheepish kind of like, magician. And so I settled in and said, you know what? I'm not going to trash the movie because that's not my, I'm not really into it, but I'm not going to trash it because I'm not into it. Let me sit back and enjoy it. So I did enjoy the comedy of it. Like when she said the campiness of it, I go, yes. That was funny. I was waiting for it to end. I'm not going to lie, but I thought everybody was good. I thought Daisy Head, she was good. I really love that Chloe Coleman. She's got a great look about her because she can play either African American or that in between. You know what I mean? How it had her like she was mixed, which she was, and I thought that was perfect. I thought the casting was good like that.
I think she
it was
looks
very, very diverse. Yeah, but you know what?
Weird, like, and I don't mean weird like as in ethnicity. I'm talking about like just her face. I'm just like, I don't like your forehead. Where does her forehead begin?
Mary.
I'm not, and again, but I'm not. This isn't. And I know it sounds bad because I'm not saying this about a woman. It sounds worse than it is because I'm talking about a woman. But I say the same thing about what's his name, Kylo Ren. I can't watch a movie with him because I'm like, you just have an ugly face. I think he has an ugly face.
He's very handsome, ugly.
But she's interesting. No way. I'm completely acknowledging it's a very shallow point of view from my end. I'm not debating. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying I watch. What's his name? Kylo Ren. What's his name? Whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And just there are times where I don't watch his stuff because I'm like, I don't want to look at his face for 3 hours. I don't want to do that.
But she's like the Steve Buscemi of like movies because he's very interesting to look at. Like, you know what I mean? And I thought she did a great job. Like I said, I thought the whole casting was good, except for Michelle Rodriguez. I mean, and when it comes time to kicking ass, she's great. But I kind of liked how she broke that dude's heart. And I thought it was kind of cool to see like her go and see him, and he had moved on, but he really didn't. But he kind of, and that was kind of interesting to me. I really enjoyed that part.
Oh, do you mean Bradley fucking Cooper?
Yeah.
I was fucking shook. He came on the screen, and they're doing the whole like he's really small and she's normal or whatever. And then I don't know if they call them differently in that world. I don't know if it's little people or
halflings.
halflings. So I'm sorry, I don't.
And
So,
she's a
man,
barbarian.
I
Just
feel
for the
really
record.
bad. I
But
feel really bad
barbarian.
now because now you
Yeah.
said halfling, and now in the real world I'm gonna be like, oh look, and all right. So then you're looking at the screen, and I don't have great eyesight, even with glasses. I don't have great eyesight, right? So I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh, it's cool. He's he's a smaller person, whatever, and it's like that's whatever. And then when they zoom in on his face, talk about like why he left or why the marriage didn't work out. I was literally texting Jeff, and I was like, is that fucking Bradley Cooper? Are you serious? Bradley Cooper for this movie? Holy shit!
He
And
was
plays
he was so excited to play. He read the script and was like, I'm in. Like he called the guy. He's like, I'm in.
I
I'm
was
in.
very surprised. I was like, oh my, they got Bradley. He's a fucking Oscar winner. I'm like, you got Bradley Cooper to be in this movie, and then to play such a little role.
Pun intended.
But
I love that watching Michelle Rodriguez.
how long have you been waiting to drop that one?
Yeah.
Professional comedian here, but I just want to put that out there. I'm a professional comedian. I get paid for this shit.
But watching Michelle Rodriguez be kind of like, it's different from her Fast and Furious, kind of like sensitive role.
Oh, this is actual acting. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Actually, I think it may be my favorite part of it. How like it was that kind of sensitive where like they still kind of loved each other, but it wasn't gonna work, and it was like, all right, you take it easy, yeah, you take it easy. And he had moved on, and like he had gotten another. Like she was she was.
They both clearly have a type. Like, they both clearly have a type.
Yes, and it was cool how his wife came in and was looking at her, hey, how you doing? And she was like, how you doing? Good. And she left, and I was like, and it was weird because she had to look at her going, okay, that's your new woman, and like that heartbreak where like you still kind of love them, and then they moved on and got somebody else, and you kind of look them up and down like, yeah, okay, and they're happy.
I loved her character so much. I loved her character so much.
Jonathan was, by the way, Jonathan was also black. BT, what are you talking about?
I'm talking dark skin black.
Yeah, he was a dark skin black. Jonathan, the way they got out of the prison, he was super black.
But he didn't have a big role. It wasn't a big role.
Also, he was a bird, but also, he was a black bird. You're complaining about the size of the road. I'm like, I'm literally making a joke about him being a fucking bird.
But anyway. So
you see how dark those feathers were, though?
Aarakocra.
They were Malcolm X dark. So yeah, I think I like that. I think I like the Michelle Rodriguez kind of Bradley Cooper kind of love thing more than any part of the whole movie. But I mean, I did like the comedy part of it and the campiness of it as far as that goes. I'll say it right now, but that's really not my cup of tea. But that was a part I liked, and I thought Chris Pine was funny, man. I really did.
Yeah, he was great.
So I will tell you this: I'm not a D&D guy at all, and I'll be honest, I'll be real. Up until I met my friend Jeff, which is the friend who introduced me to Chad, and Chad and I first physically met at a SuperCon, the convention, and I met them while they were both on their way to play D&D at the convention. Prior to meeting my now friend Jeff, which I've known Jeff for maybe 6 years, 7 years, I went off on fucking D&D nerds. I was like, you fucking nerds. I was like unapologetic, like fuck. I'm like, I'm a nerd because I read comic books. Those are fucking like virgin nerds. I used to do this whole thing about this. Like, I'll be real. Again, it's just all jokes, but like in my mind, I was like, there's a different classification of nerd. But then I met my friend Jeff, and I was like, oh, you could be a cool person and still like D&D. It is possible. So that, like, what I mean? Like, it opened my mind up to like, all right, still not my thing. I'm more than happy to try a game of D&D because many people that I respect and like love D&D. So I'm like, oh, let's give it a shot, whatever. And again, I'm 40 now, so I have no problems in saying like, oh, I was stupid when I was young. But I haven't played a lick of D&D. I haven't rolled a single D&D die ever. I know it's 20 sides. I know you can get a perfect 20.
Well, that's one of the 7 die.
Yeah. So that's my extent of knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons is it's a candy bowl. That's cool.
For those of you who can't see us.
I just told you my eyesight is shit. All right, there you go.
For those of you who can't see us, Chad is holding up his set of seven. Well,
Seven.
probably
Well,
more than
no, it's
seven
just
now.
it's random handful of.
Oh,
Right.
it's a random. That's your random poll. Oh, it's your random stash. Okay.
I love
All
it. I love that. Love
So,
it. Love it.
so I say all of that to say I'm not the Dungeons and Dragons guy, right? I'm very much
You're
in the
not the
same.
target demographic.
Well, I just
However,
Well,
never got into it. I just never
depends.
got.
At one point, he was,
Yeah,
and really, D&D doesn't really have a target demographic
it
anymore.
doesn't.
oh,
It really
I
doesn't.
meant for the movie.
Oh
Right.
yeah, for the movie, yeah, it's probably not.
But
Well,
but I
no.
fucking love movies. So I went to go watch this movie happily. I was like, all right, let's go watch this movie. And bro, I loved so much. I love this fucking movie so much. I had a blast. I watched this movie by myself. I was one of three humans in the movie theater at that time.
And the
Uh,
rest.
there was two people in front of me, two rows below me, and I was there. I was afraid because I had a show the night before and went late, and I was afraid that I was gonna fall asleep during this movie because the movie started at
Yeah.
the
Same
movie,
here.
the movie started at 2 o'clock for me in the afternoon, which is prime nap time. Like that's like prime. Like, oh man, if you want to talk about like afternoon naps, if you're a comedian, you're probably napping around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Perfect, right? So I literally bought a sugar-free Monster energy drink just to because I can't fall asleep during this movie because I gotta do a podcast for it. And I don't think the energy drink did anything for me because I was so ready for like the moment the movie started. I was like, I'm in. This is so fucking good. I love the comedy. I'm a huge fan of Chris Pine in general.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Chris Pine. Michelle Rodriguez, when I saw her and I saw that she was the quote unquote badass, I was like, I'm like, does she play anything else? Is it possible to
I
get
hope
her to
so.
play a vulnerable person, a dumb person? Like, just is there any range at all within Michelle Rodriguez? And then she started whooping ass the way she does. I'm like, oh, this character. Not yes, she's a badass, but she is so much more a badass than in any other franchise that she's done, including Avatar, which I loved her in Avatar, and there's so many things. And honestly, it's my favorite Michelle Rodriguez role since Girl Fight, which I also saw in theaters.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I'm a huge so I turned into like that I was just loving everything about it. I was trying to find things that I didn't like about it, not because I was actively trying to, but I was like literally as I was texting Jeff, I was like live texting him because it worked both as a conversation with him and yet still notes to be able to talk about it on the podcast. But I was like, this is my he goes he gave it a 7.5 out of 10, and I was like, this is my favorite movie of the year. I think this is the best movie of the year. And he said, really? And I said, well,
Wow.
it's fucking April, so let's take it. let's you know what I
I'm
mean?
impressed you only
Summer
gave it a
block-
7. I have to
Yeah,
talk to
Summer
Jeff.
blockbusters.
I think Jeff needs a schooling.
yeah.
Oh.
So I love this fucking movie. I don't know
He
anything
has
about
failed the
it.
D&D purity test.
So when I saw the fat dragon, to me, like again, I literally called him Chunky. And because Jeff goes, oh, did you get to the fat dragon yet? Right as we're getting to the fat dragon, I said, excuse me, sir, he's Chunky. Uh, he says, well, in Dungeons and
Chonky. With an O,
He's called
chonky.
fat. And I said, well, in Sears, he's called Husky. So that's what we call him in Sears. But I love so many things about the whole 5 questions thing to the dead people was
Yes.
so fucking great. That
Yes. Yes.
does that count? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Boom. I'm like, oh, so fucking good, man.
That was great. That was
It's
great.
Ridiculous.
Very like Monty Python
Yes.
Yeah.
reminiscent
Yeah.
style comedy. I love the comedy in this.
I thought the comedy was fantastic. I thought the CGI was really good. I thought the CGI was very impressive.
On point.
I don't know anything about like they did a good job of teaching me who doesn't know shit about Dungeons and Dragons some things like a red wizard, like you know what I mean. Like I don't know anything about. I'm assuming that's a real thing in the game.
It
A
is,
wizard.
absolutely. It's a whole-
So I don't know anything
race.
about that. I don't know anything about this world, and I will say that there are a lot of flashbacks because I'm taking like screenwriting classes and stuff, and I know they were like only do flashbacks when it's completely necessary and moving the story forward, which is absolutely does in this case. But there are a lot of flashbacks in this, like within the story. Like I think within flashbacks they start doing flashbacks. I'm like, in a flashback. But I was very much enjoying the movie, man. I fucking loved this movie. I was very. I mean, I only have 4 movies in my like. I rate my movies as I go along for the year. So any movie that I think is good, I'll put them because at the end of the year, BT we do a top 10 movies of the year. So
I like that.
before I get, so that I don't wait till November, December and go like, what did I watch? I start writing down the movies that I watch, so that way I could start rating them as I go along. And I only have maybe 3-4 movies in my top 10 right now. Again, that's all going to be by the time it gets to December. I'm sure maybe 1 or 2 of these would stay in there, but I thought this movie was fucking great. I love everything about this movie. And again, I don't know shit about D&D, so I'm pretty much the argument could be made that I'm the wrong demographic for it because I don't know anything about D&D, but the argument could also be made that I'm the perfect demographic for it because I won't go in there with a preconceived notion and I won't go in there nitpicking. Oh, they don't reckon this guy does. You know what I mean? I won't have that because I'm like a blank slate. I'm like, all right.
I think
Yeah,
this
and I
is a
didn't- and I
perfect
didn't-
example of. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I didn't say wrong demographic. It's target different.
No.
But they made it broad enough.
I don't mean
Yeah,
what
they
you
made
said.
it-
I don't mean. Yeah,
They
I
made
wasn't.
it broad
I wasn't,
enough that
Yeah.
it'll appeal to people that I feel like you could go into this movie not knowing anything about D&D and
me?
not be lost at all, which is
Right.
perfect.
And
Right?
that's
And if-
honestly, I thought they did a great job with that. That was part
Yes,
of what I was saying.
absolutely, absolutely.
Is that
You
they
didn't have to.
they appease both ends of that spectrum, which so many movies have a real hard time doing because they honestly, I don't. A lot of it is they deviate from what is already written, in my opinion, because it wouldn't have these things wouldn't have the massive fan bases that they have if they weren't already good. But then
Right.
some director, some studio head gets in there and messes with everything, and then they wonder why you piss off both the normies and the fanboys or girls. So it's it
So,
never works.
Before we get into the quick reviews, I just had one question, and that is there any backstory as to why Joe Manganiello was not in this movie?
Honestly, I was
is-
shocked that he wasn't in this
he
movie.
is the biggest
Yes.
celebrity D&D.
I think it's because he's working.
So
He's working on a whole nother thing for Dragonlance.
Dragonlance.
Yeah,
But he
he's been
actually he acquired
I'm not sure,
rights, and we probably won't have time to go into all of it. But back in like 2017, he acquired rights to something. He was actually co-writing a script with Dwayne Johnson for something. I don't know all the details there, which we'll have to look into, and then we can post about it either on the YouTube or on the Instagram channel afterwards. But he is involved in the development somehow in the course of like a 10-year quest to get this thing produced, right?
He has been lobbying for a D&D movie for, like you said, like 10 years.
For a really long time, yeah.
And then he specifically wants to do Dragonlance because that's his favorite world. This was Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
Of course.
And
yeah, of course, right? So, but the
you
point
don't
is
want to tell
that
me. You got this is for the listeners.
I know he's neck deep right now in pre-production on the Dragonlance television miniseries.
Show. It's a show.
movies
It's a
or whatever
series.
they're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah. I know that.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out if he was upset that he wasn't included in this movie or not. I wonder if he was like, "What
I don't
the fuck?"
know, because he, as far as I can tell, he's said nothing but good things so far. But that could just be in the public. But
Right.
I was surprised that he didn't have any role in this movie because I was expecting him to at least walk by the screen, or something.
Jumping on that topic real quick, but I put together a list. So seeing Bradley Cooper in it, right? Triggered, and then reading that the cast themselves played D&D on set, I was like, oh, I'm gonna find a list of actors and celebrities who play D&D. So I found a list: Joe Manganiello, Steven Spielberg, Felicia Day, Vince Vaughn, Stephen Colbert, Jon Favreau, Vin Diesel, wrestler Paul the Big Show Wright, Matthew Lillard, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, Anderson Cooper, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Deborah Ann Woll, Judi Dench, and Dwayne Johnson, who says he does play some D&D, but he's more of a board gamer than an RPG gamer. So I thought that was kind of a fun. Thought that was a fun little list there to share.
FYI,
I like that.
If you follow Joe Manganiello on Instagram, you'll see like 8 out of those 10 people at one, like in a picture on a post, like, oh yeah, this is our game night.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
And I'm like, I'm sorry.
He hosts a whole.
Is the fucking Big Show sitting at your table? Like, that's hilarious. I hope he plays a halfling. I hope, for the love of Christ, I hope he plays a halfling.
I would love to see like just a peek into that D&D game. It's got to be hysterical.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to the reviews. The Rotten Tomatoes critic score is 90%, certified fresh at 90%.
Wow.
And it has 279 reviews. The question I pose to the table is always, higher or lower for viewers? I know Hilda's already seen it because that's what she does. She never stops herself from looking at it.
No,
So,
I can't help it.
so Chad, do you think the audience score is higher or lower than the 90 certified% fresh that critics have it? And
Honestly,
if
from everybody that I've talked to, everybody was raving about it as like their favorite movie, like you were saying this year. So I'm gonna go higher. Normally, I would say lower, but
what do
I'm
you
gonna go
what,
higher. So
if
like
it's higher than
95.
90, 95? BT, you think higher or lower than critics?
Higher.
Higher. But what score?
I think the people would give it 98.
98. So it's higher and it's at 93. So Hilda, what would you give it? What would you rate it? And what would be your rating system?
I'm gonna go 5 out of 5 Holga battles because I love
Okay.
her.
Okay. Chad?
5 out of 5 chunky dragons.
5 out of 5 chunky dragons. BT?
5 out of 5 thick ass dragons.
You got 5. You still give it 5 out of 5, even though you did. You look like you
No,
didn't
no,
have fun.
No, I didn't. But I will say this though. It's something Hilda said that reminded me of it. Like I said, my favorite thing was Michelle Rodriguez and Bradley Cooper. I thought that scene was just beautiful. But when that 5 questions, man, the attention to detail with that, even though it's comedy, that was brilliant, man. Think about it. Does that count? Yes. And then he's down. I mean, that little detail, and it was funny. That right there shows that attention to detail, and you have to respect that. It's like watching a sport you're not into, but you watch it for the greatness it is. Like say you're not into soccer, but you have to watch Messi because he's great. People who aren't, and that's what it is. I can tell by that attention to detail that they actually, and everybody cares about the movies, don't get me wrong, but man, when it comes to that minute level of detail with the questions, that was brilliant. It was funny, and you could like blow it off like, hey, whatever, but no, that was so fine tuned and it was beautiful to watch. So yeah,
I would also go. I would go 5 out of 5. I was gonna say the spell, but I forgot the name of the spell that brings the people to life. The 5 questions. I just 5 out of 5. 5 questionnaire. Is what I would. I love this fucking movie. All right, let's go on. Real quick. I got to get to 1985's Clue. Which is our second movie.
Our second board game of the night.
Second board game of the night. Hilda, what do you think of this movie? And how have you seen this movie prior to this podcast, prior to this recording?
Yeah. It's an 80s movie. So for those who are listening before, I've got such 80s movies are just like they just take up all the space in my heart. But I love this.
Yes.
I love this movie. Clue was probably one of my favorite board games that we played at home in the 80s growing up. I loved Clue. I loved that it was a little bit more past just like a roll and move, right? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't a game that was like, or it still isn't. It's not a game that's totally left up to chance, right? So there's strategy involved, and so I loved that there was this. I loved this movie as a kid because I loved the game so much, right? Even though as a kid I didn't understand half of the dialogue.
Right? Yeah, you wouldn't have.
Right, you rewatch it as an adult and you realize all the things that you missed in the 80s, like when you were watching it. So it's one of those movies that. Yeah, as a kid, I loved it again because of my association loving the game. And then as an adult, like you keep watching it. And even though some of the jokes don't hold up, but overall, that type of kind of slapstick comedy, and then the cast. So solid cast, just solid cast. Again, the campiness of it, right? I love this movie. I've got a lot of other things I'll say, but I know we'll go quick with our round robin here.
Yeah. But yeah. Chad, what'd you think of Clue?
So yeah, I watched it when I was probably about 10 years old, so well after it was released. But it was great. I had a great time rewatching it. It had been a while. I can't remember the last time I rewatched it, but it is such it holds up so well. And it is one of those early examples where you can see Hollywood trying to base something on a board game that went extremely well, as opposed to say like Battleship.
I love Battleship. I love Battleship, man.
You love Battleship? I
do.
Sorry.
I don't know. You like 2011's The Thing. I don't know, man. We all have our things.
We all got our thing.
Lloyd and Tim Curry and the rest of the cast, especially Tim Curry. Tim Curry just slaps
Oh,
every time. I could watch that man do anything.
He has cited this as one of his favorite movies that he's done, that he's been in.
Awesome.
As he should.
As you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this one and probably Legend are my two favorite Tim Curry movies.
Wait, Tim Curry movies or Tim Curry roles?
Well,
Because Legends, that movie,
Legend's not hit.
That movie was
Oh,
awesome.
you need to shut your hole.
But his role, he was great in it. But that movie, and it's not even the movie maker.
I love that movie.
That movie was cut off at the knees by the studio, dude. That movie
really was
hot garbage. But it's
I can watch it all day, every day. I love that.
Well,
but I also watched it when I was like 5, so it was like one of the early.
Have you watched it as an adult?
Yeah, several times. I actually watched the different cut that they released too.
There you go. Well, different cuts are different. That means that they put in shit that they were supposed to have.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I've watched it.
BT, what'd you think of Clue?
let me tell you something, man. I mean, I can't really say anything more than what I love how Hilda loves the 80s movies. And you're right. I think to a point, you know, like some 80s movies, they get too, I don't know what to say, but I thought the best period of movie making was between 74 and about 78. I thought that was the movies during that period were great, like the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, movies like that. But man, this movie, I mean, they didn't put a foot wrong. I mean, like you said, Tim Curry, I don't know why it somebody said this. He should have been nominated for the Academy Award for this. Comedy is never taken seriously during the Academy. And why I mean, when you see him run from
his explanation
from room to room,
who did it? Yeah.
and he's carrying that girl up the steps and she falls. Oh my God. And he's just so great. You're watching it and you can tell he's enjoying that role. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, great actors make you go, and you find out later they hated that movie. You go, really? But him, if he said he hated that movie, I'd go, wow, that's good acting because you look like he was having a ball. He looked like he was having a ball with this role. And no one talks about this character, but man, because I've seen him, I never knew his name, and I've seen him in I think he did an episode of Sanford and Son, but Bill Henderson, the cop, the black cop.
The cop.
Yes.
Yeah.
This dude is like, he seems like he's just one gear. But it's so funny because he's so straight. Like, you know, I think there's something going wrong here. And hello, who's there? And you see this little thing come by over his head. And he's weird because he's like, I feel like he has no emotion, but he does. And he's deceptively good as an actor. Let's put it that way. It's like watching like Tom Brady run. You go, oh, he's really that fast? You know what I mean? It's like that. But this whole movie, there was not a foot wrong. It had to me, women before everything got all plastic were just beautiful, and that's the way these women were in this movie. They were naturally just beautiful. Like Elaine Brennan, she was great. Who else was great? Oh, Madeline Kahn.
Madeline Kahn.
Everything she's done.
Like her whole the scene. She's like, my head, flames.
Yes.
Like what she's describing, like the rage.
How great is she? How great! I mean, this movie, like I said, not a foot was wrong in this movie. I mean, this is one of the movies you show your kids to go, no, this is great comedy movie making, and it should have been nominated. I thought it should have got a higher score than it did, and it came in at 1:37. That is perfect for a comedy. Yeah. It's perfect, and the way it ended, I'm gonna go home and make love to my wife. And that's the end. I mean, this movie didn't put a foot wrong, bro. This is movie making at its finest, and it will always be underrated because it's a comedy, and that people don't take it seriously. The acting and comedy seriously.
No, it's always been a crime that like comedy, sci-fi, fantasy, and horror are like always snubbed at the Oscars.
Yes, always. But man, yeah, this movie was just.
Neri, what'd you think?
So this is my first time watching this movie. I had never seen it. I never watched it. Yeah.
No, same here. Same here, Neri. Same here.
Yeah. I had never watched this movie, and I'm a huge fan of movies in the 80s. As we've done, on this podcast, we've already reviewed in 16 episodes. We've already reviewed a few movies from the 80s.
Yes.
And I loved this. I watched this movie the day before I watched Dungeons and Dragons, and I remember thinking to myself, "Oh man, it's gonna be one of those things where I love the second movie more than the first movie, right? The older movie more than the new movie." And that wasn't the case, but I'm glad I think this pairing is easily. Again, it's only been 16 episodes, but it's like the best. Like two movies that I very much enjoy and plan on watching multiple times.
Thank you.
I thought Clue was great. I love the fact that everybody in this movie is extremely talented. Every actor in this movie, I was like, there's not a single weak link in this movie. There's not a single weak role in this movie. Professor Plum, fucking Christopher Lloyd. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
I had no idea he was in this movie. Even
I love when he walks over and he's like, "What's that number?"
Yes, I wrote that whole thing down. He's like,
I
said,
provide a service. What's that number?
I run a specialized hotel and a telephone service which provides
Yeah.
gentlemen with the company of a young lady
Yes.
for a short while. And he goes, "Oh yeah, what's that number?" Good, man, it was so fun. I'm like, I literally wrote these things down because I was laughing. I love the fact that she was like, a double negative has led to proof positive. Like that whole double talk back and forth, and
Brilliant.
Are you trying
Brilliant.
to make for these
the
other
math,
guests?
the math on the bullets. 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1.
1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2.
1 plus 2 plus 1.
It was so fucking good. This whole thing was so good.
So good.
When she goes, his head had been cut off. So had his, and then she points to her groin, and all three guides immediately crossed their legs. It was so, like, I was like, there was no bad, like, it was such a fucking
great
quick
movie.
They're quick.
Great.
They're quick.
Yes.
The pace of the jokes, it's like they don't skip a beat. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I was like, I was one of those things where I was writing it, again, texting it to Jeff, not because I was texting, but more to have notes of like, oh, this joke is great. But as
I'm going to start texting Jeff on my watches.
So as I start texting Jeff a certain joke that I like, I noticed I had to go, wait, what just happened? And I had to rewind because I was like, no, I can't miss another joke just happened while I was texting that joke. And I thought it was just, again, I've never seen the movie, even though I've heard, obviously I know of it, and I've seen the poster a million times, I've seen the cover a million times. I knew about Tim Curry being in this movie because he's like the face of this movie. I had no idea that Christopher Lloyd was in this movie. I had no idea whatsoever. And when I saw him, I freaked the fuck out because I was like,
love him.
I just love him, but I love him from Back to the Future because he's been in so little things that have other things that I've seen. Like I'm not saying he hasn't done anything. I'm saying like that I remember him of. It's always like he's from Back to the Future. And what else did he do? Like I have to start thinking about stuff.
It's usually underrated, I think.
He had a big history in theater, an actual like performance before movies. So
yeah, but even in movies, they always typecast him as like the Doc Brown because they did the thing, or they always put him in some side role, very small. Like what was I just watching?
I love in this movie when they're all scurrying around from room to room because he's explaining like who in what room with what weapon, and that's the game. That is the board game. You are running around. When you're playing, you are traveling from room to room because you have to go into the room to make a guess. Right, that's the game. So him like running around the house because he's gonna guess. He's like in the kitchen, grabs this weapon. Like it was Mrs. White with the candlestick in the kitchen. So, but he actually physically runs and grabs. That's what you have to do in the game.
So
and it just
Clue is, by the way, I'm not the hugest board game fan. Like I'm not not that I don't like board games. I didn't have growing up. I played very little of them. But Clue is my all-time favorite board game. Like, and again, not that I'm not in anywhere near the stratosphere of Hilda as far as how many board games I've played. But growing up,
I'm not even close.
Clue was
it's a lot. It's kind of embarrassing, BT.
Yeah.
No, it's not embarrassing. It's awesome.
No, at all. So I was very much happy with this movie. I love this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Every performance was just fucking hit. Every joke, I was like, this is so good, man.
But
I felt bad because it was 1984, 1985.
No, 85. But
I felt bad being like, hey, have you seen Clue? And they're like, yeah, 30 years ago. I want to talk about it right now.
But Rotten Tomatoes only gave it 69%.
Yeah.
And I'm going.
Those critics don't know what they're talking about.
Hey, man, if you're gonna go in the number, if you're gonna give a movie a rating in the 60s, that's the one to give.
Look at you. Look at you.
It's close to 70. It's the highest you could be in the 60s. You get what I'm saying?
Look at you.
That's the excuse.
Yes.
I love the four endings too. Well, they do 3 in the movie, but there's a 4th ending.
So Jeff told me while it was winding down, Jeff says, that they released this movie, multiple theaters had different endings because So when the movie was released,
You're
and I don't know
messing
how
with
true
people.
I don't know how true
That's
this is,
fun.
but that's what Jeff was telling me. Jeff was telling me that when the movie was released, they released it. Different theaters had different endings because they didn't want people to spoil the movie. This is before spoiler alerts. It was in 1985, so they
That's
didn't want people to
awesome.
spoil the ending.
It is.
And then I was like, "That's fucking genius." He goes, "Did you know that?" And this is what I said. I said I had no clue, which I thought was
Look at you. There, get a couple jabs in. Like,
professional, motherfucker. But anyways, let's get down. So, as BT alluded to, or not even alluded to, he fucking flat out said, 69% is what Rotten Tomatoes gave it. The critics gave it 69%. However, it's only based upon 35 reviews because
gotta change that.
older movies don't get
We have to
reviewed as
change that.
often by critics.
yes, yes,
So,
we do.
I will say,
Oh, and review Clue.
yeah.
Yes,
So
everyone.
I know
go
I'm going
review
to.
Clue.
if you're a critic, no, that's not user. That's not audience score. That's the critics
Oh.
review.
Oh, right. Yes,
That's
we can't
right.
change
We
that.
can't
All
affect
right.
that one.
Yeah, we
can't
can
affect
affect
that.
the
We
other
don't
one.
count, of course.
So
We're not
critics could have,
professional.
if you're accredited by Rotten Tomatoes, you should go review Clue, because again, this is what happens. These older movies came out before Rotten Tomatoes, so
Right.
critics are not going back in there and like fucking all right.
I wonder what qualifies as a professional critic. I mean, like we do this.
They have this whole. I tried looking into it. They have this whole thing where they have to you have to get a certain amount of subscribers and users and readers per certain amount of time. Like per month, you have to get I think it's like 10,000 real clicks. By real clicks, they mean like it can't be just refreshing this. It has
Right.
whatever.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a whole thing.
When we get awesome. We're gonna go back
All right,
and we'll review.
audience score higher or lower. I'm gonna skip Hilda because she does what she does. Chad,
I do my
way
homework,
higher.
guys.
yeah,
I'm gonna say 85.
85. Okay. And BT, did you already look at the audience score?
No, I didn't. I'm gonna say 92. I mean, I
92.
can't see. I don't know how somebody didn't look at this movie and go, "This is bloody genius," because
Yeah.
it was. So
So
I'm
the
gonna say
audience
92.
score is based upon over 50,000 reviews,
Okay.
and it's at 86.
Oh,
So it's at 86.
dude.
Uh,
I'm
mean,
a man of the people. What can I say?
What are the people think and watch? I mean, it's like when you watch, like I said, when you watch genius or greatness. I mean, you're sitting there going, "Oh my God!" Like I said, to me, when he's going from room to room with that little run, and then to me, when he dropped that girl on the steps,
I will
I'm
say
just-
this though. I
I'm
will say this.
losing
When I
it.
watched the movie as a whodunit, I will say this though. I legitimately had no clue who did it, and I'm not trying to actively guess because I don't like doing that. Even in whodunit movies, I try not to get ahead of myself by saying who do I think did it, because I
Yeah.
just try to go along for the ride for the most part.
I
But
usually
when the
don't like
movie's
that.
winding down and you're going and like, I don't know who did it. Like you really don't know who would have done it. Two things. One, there's one ending. The movie gave us three. There's one ending that we saw. There's one ending that I prefer over the other ones. But I didn't see any of those coming. And so I will ask you, because we're literally have 5 minutes before we got to get going. Hilda, which ending do you prefer?
Oh,
So there was one where Mrs. Peacock
Yeah.
was the one. There was one where
I like
it was,
I like the one where it's Leslie Ann Warren, Mrs. Scarlett.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Leslie Ann Warren, where it was her, and because she's in the business of secrets.
right.
I like the one with her.
Okay. And Chad.
Scarlett's always been my favorite as the murderess.
Right. What'd you think, B?
I mean, I hate to jump on, but yeah, it's something about, I don't know, maybe it's because how we look at the world now and everything, and maybe it's in my head, but I got to go Scarlett, especially back in the day, and have a woman, be like that. Yeah, I got to go Scarlett. I hate to jump on it.
She's a businesswoman. There are opportunities.
So yeah, man, you have to. So
I think so. I agree. I think that here's a pet peeve that I have, and it started with Murder on the Orient. And I'm sure back in the day this was like, oh, revolutionary, but I hate when a whodunit ended with it was everybody. It's like, oh, fuck off. Like,
yes, yeah.
So, and again, I'm sure that when Agatha Christie was writing Murder on the Orient, it was like, this is revolutionary. Nobody's ever thought of doing this way. I'm sure it was. But now I just look at this as fucking lazy, right? I'm just like, it doesn't. It's the opposite of, and it's actually not lazy when you're actually able to come up with multiple ways for multiple people to have done it. It's the opposite of lazy, but I just feel like it's hacky. I'm just like, blech. I'm like, I don't like it. So I don't like the what really happened ending of Clue because it's the same as everybody did it. But
Well,
yeah,
he
Miss
says
Martin,
they're all guilty, which is true. They're
right?
all guilty of something,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
not of the murder. They were all
but
there because they were
no,
all
no, but
guilty
they
of
all, but
something.
all of them murdered somebody. Like all of them
Right.
murdered somebody. Like it was, and that I like this. Even the what actually happened, and even the everybody killed somebody ending on Clue is better than Murder on the Orient because they all only killed the same person, which I thought was a fuck off.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I did enjoy. I will say the first ending with Scarlet I think was the best one, but I will concede to the everybody killing somebody for a different reason. I thought that was all right too. I didn't hate that. All right. So what would be your rating? We got 3 minutes. What would be your rating,
Okay,
Hilda?
I'm gonna go 4.5 out of 5 singing telegrams.
Oh my god!
Dude, oh, I hate
I
you.
literally fucking wrote that. I literally wrote that. It was like first of all, the one joke that I can't go without saying is like I'll trust you to protect this with your oh no, that was the other movie. That was a good one too, Dungeons and Dragons. I'll trust you to protect this with your very life. And he goes, yes, hold this. And I thought that was fucking great because that was very much a Clue type joke where you're like, that's so good. That timing was everything.
Yes.
God, that was funny.
It was so funny. But when
That
he
was
said
hilarious.
in Clue,
Singing
when he says, "Can you keep a
telegrams.
secret?" In Clue, when he says, "Can you keep a secret?" And he goes, "Yes." He goes, "So can I." And I thought that was great. All right, Chad, what would be your rating system? in
I
your
go
rating?
4.5 out of 5. Miss Scarlet with a knife.
Okay. BT.
Man, honestly, I go 5 out of 5, and
Yeah.
for some reason, this 5 out of 5, the makeout scene with the dead people.
Oh, yes.
Man, that and they raise that lady's eyes, and she's like making out with the dude, and he's got blood in his head. He go,
And
"Oh,
the
some
cop,
people
the
making
cop's
out."
like,
Yeah, that's
there's nothing going on here. It's just
nothing
people
going on.
having a good time.
No,
Yeah.
this dude's dead drunk.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
So
not going to be
5 out of
driving home.
5 dead
He's not going to
drunk.
be driving home later, is he? I assure you, he's not.
No, absolutely not.
I'm telling you, to me, it's 5 out of 5. How can you
I agree,
not
man.
give it 5 out of 5?
I'm 5 out of 5 candlesticks. I just fucking love it. Why is J. Edgar Hoover on your phone? He's on everybody else's phone. Why shouldn't he be on mine? That's so fucking great. Like if you never read a history book, you don't know how funny
It
that
is
shit is. Like, you don't know how
1954.
fucking funny that is.
Yeah.
It's so good, man.
Yeah,
I love
brilliant.
this fucking movie. I love
Brilliant.
this
Yes.
pairing of movies. I love
Yes.
both these movies. I thought it was great. If
Absolutely.
Clue had come out in 2023, it would for sure be my top list of fucking top 10 movies of the year.
Yeah.
I love this was my favorite assignment. There's even though there's been other pairings that I've enjoyed both movies. I would say I have not had this much fun watching both movies because this
That's
was
because
a
game night is
fun.
fun, Mary.
Game
But
night is
Night.
awesome.
I love game night. You don't want to sell me on game night, but game night to me doesn't mean Dungeons and Dragons. Game night to
I
me
wish we all
means,
lived
like,
closer.
oh my god, yes. Oh, you know what? A game I bought. One of them has to go. There's a game called One of Them Has to Go, and it's literally every card is 4 of one thing, and then it's like one of them has to go, and you have to talk about why you would let one of these things go.
Interesting.
And I've only drawn one card digitally. I got the digital pack, and I only drawn one card, and it was literally like it was Arnold Schwarzenegger movie characters. It was the T-800 Dutch from Predator.
Dutch.
It was
Dutch.
Matrix from Commando and Conan the Barbarian. It's like one of them has to go, and you're like, oh. And I sent that to my friend Dave, and he goes, "I'd rather die. Fuck that. I'm not paying."
Oh, that's hard.
Really hard.
Oh.
Anyways, love you guys. Thank you guys for checking out
Thank you so much.
the podcast, the Movie Bros podcast. Check out geekbro.net. Check out the other podcasts on the Geek Bro Network, including two, but not limited to. But let me tell you, Chow Like a Best with Mike Valdez, the Cramocopia, Kick Flicks. Check that out. You guys have been great. Go to geekbro.net. Fantastic. Hilda, BT, thank you for coming in, man. Love you, brother.
Thank you
very
guys. Appreciate you.
Bye.
much. Love you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.